Hello and good evening. Today it is Sunday, July 25th, 2021, and for this video today I will be doing a viewer request video for my longtime subscriber Sean. And today I will be sharing my thoughts on all of the jerseys and uniforms worn in the men's and women's hockey in the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. So I will be sharing my thoughts on all of the jerseys and uniforms worn by all of the countries playing hockey in the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. So, for both the men's and the women's hockey in the 2014 Winter Olympics, the ice hockey, you had some countries that actually had men's and women's teams that qualified. You either had You had countries that had both men's and women's teams qualify, or just men's teams to qualify, or just women's teams to qualify. So Canada, Finland, Switzerland, the United States, Russia, and Sweden all had both men's and women's teams qualify for the Winter Olympics. For the women's hockey, Germany and Japan only had women's hockey teams qualify for the 2014 Winter Olympics. And for the men, Slovakia, Slovenia, Norway, Austria, the Czech Republic, and Latvia only had men's teams that qualified for the 2014 Winter Olympics. So there were some countries that either so there were 14 different countries that had at least one team participate in ice hockey in the 2014 Winter Olympics. So there were some countries that either A, had only men's teams, B, women's teams, or C, both. So there were 14 different countries. That obviously means there were 14 different sets of uniforms, and in this video I will be sharing my thoughts on all of them. So let's see here. Sorry, before I get going, I just had a minor little glitch on my computer here. I apologize for that. So without further ado, let's begin. Let's start with my home and native land, Canada. So for the second straight Winter Olympics in a row, Canada for the most part had a relatively simple, this one was a little bit more to me of a cross between modern and traditional compared to the 2010 jerseys, which were very, very traditional, especially with Nike making the jerseys. Canada went with simple home and away jerseys and actually did not use a third jersey in 2010. So this time around, Canada had a chest stripe on the front of all three of their jerseys. On their main jerseys, the home and away, they had a maple leaf cut out of the chest stripe and a Canada word mark below that. On only one arm on all three of the jerseys had a stripe, and the right arm was left completely blank with this logo on each jersey, which I believe is the Canadian Olympic Committee logo. You had the Canada flag on the home and away jerseys and a gold maple leaf on the third jersey. Now, this was the first Olympics since the 2006 Winter Games in Turin, Italy, where Canada actually had a third jersey. But this was definitely, even though the jersey design was for the most part just a flip of their main jerseys, it was done a little bit different. Instead of a logo on the front, it actually used a very simple Canada word mark, and there was a gold maple leaf on the left arm inside the striping. And I like how they put a pair of gold stripes around the red stripe on the chest and on the arm. But overall, I do agree with everyone who said at the time that that uniform was rather mediocre. But even though it wasn't the greatest jersey Canada has produced in terms of third jerseys, I will say this. I do think, looking at it now, I think it was actually kind of cool that Canada at least tried something a little bit different for a change. I mean, was it great? No. But you know what? At the same time, it could have been a lot worse too. But yeah, it wasn't, the third jersey definitely was the worst of the three here, but I think that as a third jersey for a 2-week-long event and to never be used again, I actually think that it was kind of interesting that Canada, I do think that Canada deserves a bit of a tip of the hat for at least trying something a little bit different. It could have been done a lot better in my opinion, but you know what? I think it's actually all right. Not great, but definitely not horrible, in my opinion at least. If this was a full-time third jersey, I would hate it, but for the Winter Olympics, for the 2 weeks they wore it for, looking back at it now, I do think that it was cool that Canada tried something new, but I definitely agree. It definitely wasn't the greatest. But notice the new plasticky design on the shoulders of these 2014 jerseys when they were introduced, and the plastic on the collar. Turns out the NFL weren't the only ones to receive Nike Flywire. Turns out the Olympic hockey jerseys had it too. And they had a plasticky design on the top of all of the jerseys, which I've never been a fan of. At least the white jersey, you barely see it unless you see it up close or on an angle like this, being shown in the light like in this photo. But turns out these jerseys were made from recycled plastic bottles. And I think it took like, let's see if I have it still where I can pull it up. Supposedly, each jersey is made from about 17 plastic bottles that are melted down and turned into a polyester fabric. And actually, the socks that were used on all the uniforms actually were made from recycled plastic bottles as well. I think it took like 5 bottles if I remember reading it correctly. Or if I remember it correctly, rather. But yeah, so why don't I show you guys some photos of what the jerseys looked like in gameplay or worn by players. So notice how the red and white jerseys are rather plain. And the third jersey, yeah, it's definitely the worst of the 3 by far. But I think they should have at least put some gold stripes around the red stripe on each sock to match what they had on the jersey and on the chest stripe and on the one arm. That would have made it a little better. But yeah, these red and white jerseys were definitely a lot better than the black one. The black one was kind of meh. Even though I do think it's kind of cool that Canada at least tried something different for a change. I'll give them that, but it definitely was just a Canada word mark. It's definitely not my favorite. I agree with everybody there. So notice the uniform being worn in a game. The jersey's rather simple. It uses a simple block font for the numbers, and I think the letters used an agency font, kind of like what the Canucks use and have used for a long time in the NHL. But with the socks, I wish that for the away jersey, they would have just had a white sock design with a simple red stripe on each sock to match the one stripe on the one arm and on the chest, and vice versa on the red jersey, where it would have been a red sock with a white stripe on each sock to match the chest striping design on the front of their home and away jerseys. So let's see, I've got another photo I can pull up here of Canada wearing their home uniform against the United States. And there it is right there. So overall, actually, I've got one more photo of Canada's third jersey. So I see what I mean. It's kind of meh. The Canada word mark on the front, I mean, yeah, it's something new, but I agree with the people who were saying that this jersey was kind of really mediocre. Definitely the worst of the 3, but once again, I'll give Canada a little bit of credit. They did try something new. It wasn't exactly a complete perfect flip of their home and away jerseys. They did something a little tiny bit different with the gold stripes as well, and using something other than the logo, than another logo on the front. They put a word mark there, but yeah, that jersey, for a one-time thing, all right. It was cool they tried something different, but I'm glad that they've never brought it back. It's definitely not a great jersey. So moving on to the Czech Republic. The away jersey, in my opinion, is a really simple-looking jersey to the point where it almost looks more like a shirt rather than a jersey. And as for this thing on the left, it's basically their logo on the Czech Republic flag. And something I noticed about the Winter Olympics in 2014 was that Nike was really trying to make jersey designs based off of countries' flags. And in some cases, like Canada's jerseys, it was okay. Finland's white flag jersey was okay. But damn, this Czech Republic jersey looks like a bloody clown suit. It's horrible. I mean, there are some teams in the 2014 Olympics that, in my opinion, should have had their crazy designs as third jerseys, where they made a jersey to match the actual half-decent design, or the design that actually didn't totally suck like the Czech Republic's here. See, I think they should have had a red version of this white jersey and worn this clown suit for maybe 1 game or 2 games tops in the round robin as an alternate. That's it. But I think the shoulder yoke here was a little bit too much. And one thing about Nike's jerseys in 2014 was that they were too top heavy with nothing on the arms, nothing around the waist. It was a little bit too mediocre for me personally. But if they would have taken this red stripe off here and put some striping on the arms and around the waist, this design would actually not be too bad. But the shoulder yoke's a bit too big. But with the rest of the uniform, it actually looks okay. But as for this thing here, it should have been a third jersey at the most, not their primary colored uniform. Goodness me, terrible choice. But here, so what I'll do is I'll pull up a photo here of the Czech Republic sporting their 2014 Winter Olympic home uniform. Look at it. You got red pants, you got blue on the top half of the socks, red on the bottom. This looks like an absolutely horrible third jersey. Notice the number font looks like it was an Atlanta Thrashers type of font. But man, that uniform is absolutely horrendous. I mean, at the absolute most, they should have done what Canada did, where this was just a third jersey. I mean, if Canada could have a third jersey, why couldn't the Czech Republic? I mean, man, this is just terrible. But now you look at the Czech Republic away uniform, and let's see. Hopefully I can get this to open up here. Sorry about the delay. There we go. Overall, when you pair it with the socks and the rest of the uniform, the away uniform actually doesn't look too bad. It makes the jersey look a whole lot better. But yeah, I mean, the away jersey is 100 times better than these god-awful clown suit uniforms they made the Czech Republic players wear. Goodness me. You know, if they wanted to wear this as a third jersey and make a matching red version of this uniform here, all right, whatever. But, you know, to make that their primary colored uniform, no. Just a disaster, in my personal opinion. So, now moving on, we'll move on to Austria. I actually have always felt that Austria's jerseys in the 2014 Winter Olympics were actually not too bad. I'll pull up some actual real-life photos, because when I show you the jerseys actually being worn by players, it makes them look a whole lot better. So I'll start with this photo here. I mean, it's actually a pretty simple uniform. The white shoulder yoke, 1 stripe on each arm. Would have been nice if they put a stripe around the waist, but these, in my opinion, were actually not too bad. Some of the better uniforms worn in the 2014 Winter Olympic Games, in my opinion. And the next photo I'll pull up here, and my computer's been acting up a little bit tonight, so if it takes a second to load, I apologize. But, okay. I might have to go with a different strategy. I apologize. But yeah, Austria's away uniform was actually not too bad either. And, okay, I'm going to just have to wing it here and wait. Or actually, no, I can reload that, and yeah. So I apologize for that. I'll try to get back to the Austrian uniform later on in the video, but I'll move on to the Finnish jerseys. Notice how the white jersey is basically the Finnish flag, and they have a blue jersey that's got the Finnish flag on the arms. It's actually not a bad look, in my personal opinion. And here, let's see if I can't get this Discord to work. I'm really sorry, but it seems like my computer's having some loading issues here, and I'm just hoping that it can work just long enough to get us through the video. And, okay. So yeah, back to Finland. Their white jersey was actually really creative. One of the more creative jerseys to come out of the 2014 Winter Olympics. But before I go back to Finland, I'm going to jump back to Austria And once again, I'm really sorry about the loading error that we had there. But here we go. There was Austria's away jersey. Once again, another really decent uniform, and it even used a chest stripe, a small one, albeit, but not bad. One of the nicer looking uniform sets in the Winter Olympics, in my opinion, were actually Austria's. I like them. Now, back to Finland. Here is a photo of their away jersey being used, and for a flag design put right onto a jersey just being a country's flag, this is actually really cool. The only thing I could do without, though, is these horrible vertical sock stripes. Like, Nike, what the hell were you guys thinking 7 years ago? I mean, imagine if these socks were just a simple royal blue stripe on each sock. A traditional stripe. That would have actually made this uniform really cool. Actually, let's see if I can... I want to pull up the Finnish home uniform for the tournament. So there it is with the red coat of arms on the front and the Suomi above it, which is, I believe, Finland in Finnish. Sorry for not knowing. But you see the stripes on the arms. They've got the flag cut in to make it look like the Finnish flag, which is actually a clever touch. The sock design, yeah, it should have just been maybe a simple white stripe on each sock, in my opinion, but it is it was what it was, because this happened 7 years ago. Notice how there was a bit of a plasticky design on the shoulders. This uniform was okay. Truth is, I don't like black or navy blue shoulder yokes on royal blue jerseys. I find it makes them too dark. It's actually an issue I've had with the St. Louis Blues longtime home uniform for many, many years now. And it's something I hope they eventually get rid of, is the navy blue shoulder yoke on their home jersey. But yeah, this actually looked all right, even though it had a navy blue shoulder yoke. And let's see if there's any more photos I have of Finland's away jersey worn during the 2014 games. Here's another photo here. For a jersey that's essentially just their country's flag, it's actually not bad. That's when it first came out, I thought it was so untraditional and so unconventional. I didn't like it, but as years have gone on, for the Winter Olympics for 2 weeks, the fact that Finland wore a jersey that was essentially their country's flag design, I got to give Finland a bit of credit. It's actually really creative, and Nike too, even though I haven't been a fan of a lot of these flag-heavy designs in 2014, to be honest. But this one was pretty good. Truth is, I would have preferred if maybe they had a white flip of the royal blue jersey and then wore the flag as a third jersey, but this was the one flag design that I actually think doesn't suck. So kudos to Finland for that. That's actually a pretty cool design. Am I unhappy that I've never seen a design like it since? No. But I will say this, if they ever brought that type of design back, I wouldn't hate it. This actually has grown on me. I mean, it's actually not a bad design. The blue jersey is not my favorite. It's kind of meh to me, but the away jersey is definitely creative. I'll give Finland and Nike some credit where I think it's definitely due. So, the next country to cover is Germany. I love how they didn't have a white jersey. They only had black or bright athletic gold. These jerseys actually, with their colors, kind of remind me of the Vancouver Canucks a little bit too. So, there are some photos that I was able to find of the German home and away jerseys worn during the 2014 games in Russia. So, the away jersey, the bright yellow, you know, notice how it's very top-heavy with no stripes on the arms or the waist. Even without stripes on the waist or the arms, this design's actually pretty damn good, in my opinion. I've always liked it. It's too bad we didn't get to see these jerseys worn more, to be honest. The black jerseys were really cool, too. Truth is, I much prefer the bright yellow ones, or the gold ones, but the black ones were good, too. The yellow ones, the bright gold ones are my favorite of the two, because I love the color contrast, and it's not often you see a bright gold jersey that isn't being worn by Sweden. But the black ones were actually pretty good too. For one of these Nike designs that were either flag-based or too top-heavy with no armor waist striping, The German women had some pretty decent jerseys. I like both of these. I especially like this one, but these were pretty good too. So yeah, the German ones were actually pretty decent in my opinion when they wore these jerseys. Well, when the German women wore these jerseys 7 years ago in Sochi. So now, moving on again to Japan. Now, I'll give Japan a little bit of credit. At least their home and away jerseys had some type of waist striping. But notice these scales on these jerseys. I think it was based off of, they were meant to evoke dragon scales. And they had some kind of dragon or tree design on the shoulders. But you know what I hate about this whole Nike plasticky stuff that they put on with these Flywire jerseys is that if you look at the top of these jerseys, you know what it reminds me of? It looks like they took pieces of garbage bags and taped them or glued them onto the top of both of these jerseys. And you've got the simple mediocre word mark on each of these jerseys. It's too bad that the Japanese women couldn't have had jerseys that actually had some kind of or some type of logo. I think I put the words kind and type into one word. Sorry. But yeah, the Japan word mark, these uniforms were very, very mediocre in my opinion. I do have a photo of the Japanese women's team sporting these jerseys, albeit for a photo shoot. But notice the vertical stripes on the socks. I'm sorry, but these are just awful. These jerseys, though, the away jersey, at least it has a bit of a design to it, but the word mark's really disappointing. It's too bad that Japan couldn't have come up with a logo for these jerseys for their women's team to wear. But hey, you know what? I do think it's actually really cool that Japan actually had a hockey team to qualify for the Olympics. That's really cool. But yeah, it's those jerseys there, the away uniform definitely makes up for the mediocre word mark, but that black home jersey, damn, it's bad. Not only is it way too plain, but the shoulders remind me of a garbage bag. Almost looks like the top part is like a garbage bag. Yikes. So now moving on to Latvia. Now this is one country that I always enjoy seeing in international hockey because the burgundy jerseys stand out. Nobody else wears burgundy but Latvia. Notice the semi-traditional design with the stripes on the arms, nothing around the waist, but a relatively decent uniform design for both their home and away jerseys, and I'll get to Norway after I cover Latvia. Now, with Latvia's home and away jerseys, let's see, where did I have those photos? So, here's the first one here. Let's fix that. Notice how it's relatively simple. Once again, the socks I definitely would have liked to have seen Nike do better sock designs on these uniforms for these Olympics 7 years ago. And here's another photo of Canada's away uniform at the time. I love the simplicity, but you know what I love about these uniforms too? I love the burgundy. The burgundy and black. I love how they wear burgundy and nobody else does. And for you longtime viewers, one thing I've said multiple times over the years is I'd love to see the Colorado Avalanche in the NHL one day go with a design more like what Latvia has, where it's simply just burgundy, black, white, and silver. If they wanted to add a bit of their blue, sure. But a simpler design like this, I would be a big fan of Colorado going in that direction one day like Latvia. Now, here's Latvia's away uniform as well. The shoulder yoke really adds a lot to the away jersey, and notice the plasticky design. I'm not sure what it was on their jerseys. But yeah, you look at Latvia's home and away jerseys, they're some of the nicest. I really enjoyed and I always enjoy seeing Latvia's jerseys because they're burgundy. That's a color in international hockey that only Latvia has, and I love that about the Latvian hockey teams in international hockey. They wear a color that nobody else does. Now, another team, this is a team that I want to praise a little bit too, Norway. Now, although they don't have they did not use a logo on these jerseys, they went with a simple Norway word mark, obviously in Norwegian, because it says Norge on the front. I'm sure that's not how you say it properly, I guarantee it. But notice the simple traditional design on the arms and around the waist. I love that about these jerseys that Norway had. It's too bad they didn't have a crest on the front, but the word mark looked great too. These may be some of my absolute favorite uniforms to come out of the Sochi Games because they were so simple, but they were traditional, and the striping was based on the flag. It looks like the striping was based off of the flag, but I love the simple traditional design. Really looks great there. And here's a photo of Norway's away uniform. And I'll bring it into better focus there. But you see what I mean? Nice, simple, traditional uniforms. You can never go wrong with simple, traditional uniforms, more often than not. Unless you're the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Carolina Hurricanes before the Adidas redesign a few years ago. But yeah, it's Norway's uniforms. I really love how simple they are, or simple they were. I should be using past tense, not present tense. But yeah, these jerseys were definitely nice. They were simple, but they were really, really easy on the eyes. Really nice, decent looking uniforms. So now moving on to Russia. Now their red jersey used the classic design that we're used to seeing from Russia with their red jersey, but their away jersey was just so unconventional. I'm sorry, folks, but I have never been a fan of it. So notice how the front is crazy with this half red, half white design of the Russian. I think that's their coat of arms. You have it here between the two bird heads, and you've got the wings on the arms. Very color heavy on the front with a blue stripe along the bottom of the jersey, and then the back of the jersey is white. You also have a wing design on the shoulders as well. Yeah, the Russian red jersey, and why don't I pull up some better photos here? But with Russia's red jersey, their home jersey, it's actually fairly decent looking overall. You can't go wrong. That's the classic Russian look. It actually might have looked good with blue pants here instead of red pants to break it up a little bit more. But this uniform, it's the classic Russian uniform that I'm used to. But then you look at Russia's away uniform they had at the time. Damn! And there's another shot of the Finnish blue jersey where they used a mostly block number font and a more agency type font for the player names. But notice that big crazy design on the front. You know, it looks like they took a design cue from out of the first NHL third jerseys in the mid-1990s with this uniform, and not in a good way. Really, in my opinion, they were way overboard. And I think I showed you this photo earlier, but there's another shot of the front. And you see with Russia, here's the thing. This is yet another country that, in my opinion, should have had a crazy design that they went with as a third jersey. You know, just like the Czech Republic, in my opinion, Russia should have had a white jersey to match this one here. And then if they wanted to wear this crazy design as a third jersey for a game or two, whatever. It's awful, but at least it would have only been a third jersey. But yeah, definitely the red jersey is definitely not bad. I like it, but that away jersey, damn, a little bit too wild for me. Way too wild, in fact. So now to move on to Slovakia. Now, truth is, I always found these jerseys kind of neat because notice how they have a slight pinstripe on them. Each pinstripe contained the lyrics to Slovakia's national anthem. That's actually pretty clever. And I actually felt that the pinstripe design was something unique. It was different. It was neat. But notice, once again, no waist or arm striping. And I gotta be honest, that is something about Nike with these Olympics that I had a big pet peeve with when all the uniforms were unveiled 7 years ago. Or late 2013. So, okay, let's see. So, here's a couple photos of the Slovakian uniforms. So, there's the away. You can slightly see the pinstripes. And you can see the pinstripes a little bit better on the home uniform. Their home uniform actually looked all right, but what do you notice about them and the Americans' uniforms? They're basically the exact same design. The white jersey has essentially the exact same design as the Americans, and the blue jersey is so close to the Americans' design. This reminded me of an intra-squad game, more so than a game between the Slovakia and the United States. There was a little bit too much of a templated look for both teams. It would have been nice if they would have found a way to make their jerseys a little bit more different. Now, I know the Americans' blue jersey is different than Slovakia's, but the same templated design. Too many teams use the same template, in my opinion, personally. But here you can slightly see the gray pinstripes on Slovakia's jersey. So now let's see if I can... there we go. Finally pull up the away jersey there. So Slovakia's jerseys were rather plain. The blue jersey, the navy blue jersey, I like a lot more than the white one. But I'll say this too about Slovakia's jerseys. Yeah, I'm glad that in recent years they've gone back towards royal blue again. But there's one more final shot of them here. They look like shirts more than they look like jerseys. That's something I don't like about these. So now moving on to Slovenia. Now, truth is, I recently did a video talking about my thoughts on a prototype uniform set that was going to be used by Slovenia, but they went with these instead. So one thing I like about Slovenia in recent years is now they wear a color scheme of royal blue and lime green. Notice the 3 stars from the coat of arms and a boring Slovenia word mark on the front. Now, here's a mock-up of the away jersey with the lime green. And this is something I really like about these Slovenian jerseys, is that Slovenia in recent years has now been using lime green instead of being another blue and red team. I love how they use royal blue and lime green. Now the black equipment, the black pants on both the home and away jerseys, I could do without, but these jerseys, I love how they use lime green. So there's blue on the top blocks here. I could do without that. But you know what? Yeah, that lime green on the bottom is definitely a cool touch. Then they use a mountain range design, kind of like what the Colorado Avalanche use in the NHL. And I love how they're the only team that uses royal blue and lime green. Now, if you saw my recent prototype files video where I shared my thoughts on these 2 uniform mock-ups here, which are actual prototype jerseys that Slovenia was heavily considering using instead of what they went with here, notice how they would have had a really big mountain range heavy design on the white jersey and a simple, boring as hell royal blue design with a slight navy blue mountain range on the bottom with their coat of arms as the crest. I'm really glad that Slovenia used this prototype here as inspiration for their home and away jerseys and utilized lime green and did something unique by using a color scheme that nobody else uses. But it's too bad they didn't use this coat of arms on their home and away jerseys in Sochi. So here's a photo of their home jersey. It's too bad that coat of arms on their flag that you might be able to see there wasn't on the front of this instead of that word mark and the 3 stars from the coat of arms. Let's see if I can pull up another photo here. So there's another one of Slovenia's home uniform. Notice the black pant shells. I don't like that. Actually, I think in the Winter Olympics here, the teams wore white at home, if I'm not mistaken. Do I have a photo of Slovenia's away uniform being worn in here? Okay, I don't. Okay, I apologize for that, guys. Let's see. So here we go. Here's the one photo of the away jersey. Once again, even though I could do without the royal blue blocks where the numbers are, and that's something I don't like about Nike jerseys, is how high up the numbers are on the jerseys. But it would have been nice if the royal blue there is fine, but I actually would have done without it. It's too bad that they didn't use the coat of arms crest on that royal blue prototype I just showed you. And if you're interested, I actually did a video sharing my thoughts on those. But that coat of arms logo on the front of this and the home jersey would have been really nice. But yeah, something I would like to see Slovenia do one day, though, is to actually use lime green and make a lime green jersey. If there's any team I'd like to see do a third jersey like that, it would be Slovenia. I think a third jersey that was lime green with this same design and the coat of arms on the front from their flag would be so cool. But at this point in time, let's see what I have left to cover. Sweden, Switzerland, and the United States. So what I'm going to actually do is, I think after 35 minutes, I'm going to call it a wrap on this video, and I'll come back to do a part 2 to finish this off. So leave your thoughts down below on all of the uniforms and my thoughts on all of them. Which ones did you like more? Which ones did you like less? And after 36 minutes, I'm going to call this a wrap, and I'll get to work on part 2 right after this so that we can get the 2014 Winter Olympic jersey subscriber request for our longtime viewer, Sean, finally complete for him. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, especially you, Sean. And until part 2, as always, until my next video, take care. And as always, bye for now. And one more thing, thank you if you've stuck around from start to finish, especially with the technical difficulties I was having earlier on in the video. Thank you. And until the next video, take care.